everybody. Welcome to my runcast. So these past couple of days have me so exhausted because Kevin and I drove into Bangkok 2 days in a row to film 2 sessions each of those days for the Muay Thai library. So 4 sessions altogether, 2 days driving into Bangkok, which is a 2 and some change hour drive in each direction for us from Pattaya for the areas that we were going to. Sometimes like being in the car, like the traveling is harder than the actual training part. But when you like put them together, it's super exhausting. I'm like totally wrecked today. I'm back to my normal training today. And I did fine, but like, oh, so tired. Which is good. I like that the Muay Thai library is harder than you would think it is. Like it's not just like, oh, I show up and I film this thing and it's no big deal and whatever. Like it is actually really difficult in many ways, but things that are difficult are very valuable. So I like that it's like that. And we've become a little bit more streamlined just because we've been doing it for so long. But Kevin and I were talking about each one of these sessions as we would like finish the session, get in the car, go to the next one, and then, you know, driving into Bangkok the next day to do it again. And so reflecting on these different styles and these different trainers and all of this stuff kind of immediately after, and comparing and contrasting because like it was literally going from one to the other. So the first day we did Lock In the morning, and then we went over to Nam Sak Noi. And these are like such different styles, like they're really not similar to each other at all. But it's not the kind of whiplash that I think I used to think it was, or people even expect it to be. Like I've been in Thailand and making, you know, videos and talking about my experiences here for so long. I think that people have heard from me many times that like even within the same gym, you will have 2 trainers who teach you to do something differently from each other, and they'll like correct you to things that are almost opposite from each other. Like one person wants you to kick like this, the other like that. One person wants your hand up, the other wants it down. And people have asked me over the years many times, like, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you deal with learning opposing techniques or trying to, you know, accommodate very different styles back to back, or if you learn something from one person and then when you go back to your other gym they want it a different way, how do you deal with that? And I think that the way that I said it previously was it's not that complicated because you just accommodate the person that's right in front of you. So it's like remembering not to swear in front of your grandma even though you talk a lot of shit with your friends. Like it's not that hard. You might slip up a little now and then because you're just like impassioned by the moment or something, but it's not that complicated to like switch between techniques. But I think that I feel differently about it now, or experience it differently now, because of how much experience I have and seeing so many styles. So now, especially when I'm voicing the Muay Thai library, because that's the moment that I'm like reflecting on it and using my old Rolodex to like call together who else this is like, or like, oh, the way he teaches this hook is very similar to this other person, or the way that he shifts his weight and his balance is very like these other 2 fighters. That kind of stuff is that I think what I've come to understand is that why that technique is used by this person is because it fits into this larger style. So like you can do either one, but the mix and match might be a little bit complicated. So the leaning back on knees, for example, is not something you're going to get from knee fighters, because knee fighters knee a lot, like they do high repetition of knees. So why someone leans back on a knee is that they're not a knee fighter. If you're a knee fighter where like knees are your main thing, like Yud Kumpan or Diesel Noi, you're not going to lean back on those knees. Got some monkeys going on here. Hi guys. Oh no. There's a monkey in the road that I thought was hurt, but it's actually just being groomed, so that's fine. He's very large and he's being groomed, and because he's so big and like the king of all the monkeys, he's very, very passive, so he's fine. Onward. What was I talking about? I was talking about techniques working within like a context. So it's a little bit like the vocabulary you have versus the diction you have is like it fits within what you're talking about, your personality, the kinds of things that you express yourself with, and all this stuff. what I was talking to Kevin about in the car as we were moving between all of these different styles was it kind of feels to me more like there are so many different ways to make pumpkin pie is the example I was using. And it's like you have your family recipe, right? And it's like you make the crust this way, and then you have this little like secret thing that you do with the pumpkin to like pull out this certain flavor. You add a spice that like people aren't really familiar with that just puts a little like, oh, what is that in there? And then sometimes there are people who are like, your secret recipe is just the back of the Toll House cookie sheet. Like it's not as special as you think it is, kind of thing. And it's like there are a gazillion recipes to make pumpkin pie, and they are all pumpkin pie, but there's like a uniqueness to each individual little thing that you do with it. And I feel like this has a lot to do with the styles, where like you can have a lot of Muay Thai fighters, you can list tons and tons of Muay Thai fighters, but they're not the same as each other. Like Samransak and Lakhin really are not very similar to each other, even though they're both Muay Thai. And I find that really beautiful and really cool. And so, for example, Lakhin in the morning on Wednesday, and then we trained with Muay Thai, who's a WBC champion, on Thursday afternoon, have absolutely opposite ways of throwing their punch. So Lakhin is like, you want to get in super close and you want to stop your punch on your target. Like this moment of like full power is at the moment that you're hitting your opponent. And so you're actually like stopping your fist on the target. Muay Thai is the opposite of this. He's like, you want to go actually through your target. The difficulty with Muay Thai's version is that you have to have a really, really good, technically sound punch in order to not like throw yourself off if you miss. Lakhin has a safety, which is that by controlling your punch, if you miss or if they dodge out of the way or whatever the thing is, you remain on balance 100%, like you're totally fine. So you can have a little bit of wiggle room. It's a little bit, this is maybe me talking outside of my like field of knowledge, but it's a little bit how like Simone Biles, who's is the GOAT, she's like the greatest gymnast ever, but she has these incredibly high scores because her difficulty level is so high that she can kind of fudge the landing. Like she can kind of mess up a little bit and leave a little bit of room for deductions because the score is so high. Whereas you can have someone who's like, no, I'm not going to have like a super, super high difficulty score, but I am going to stick this landing so perfectly, it will be perfect every single time, that I am going to get the full score of that possible score every single time, no deductions. I feel like Muay Thai's is the like no deductions version, where because the technical execution of that punch is so perfect, if you miss, if the opponent moves out of the way, you're never going to go flying in the wrong direction because you're not throwing your weight forward so much. Lakhin, because he's so close, unlikely that you'll miss because you're not throwing from very far away. But if the opponent gets out of the way, you've controlled your punch. They do this with kicks too. There are fighters who are like, absolutely control your kick in case someone gets out of the way or whatever the thing is. Rainbow is like, absolutely control your kick. And then yesterday with Sea King, who was called Don King, his kick, which he learned from Azam Gimyu at Sor Plungit, absolutely beautiful, not controlled in the like control it so that you can stop it at any given point. It is like whip absolutely through, but have control on the opposite end of it, which is very much like Muay Thai's punch, where it's like, if you miss, you have control anyway, but you're not stopping the weapon. I find these things really beautiful. I find these things really cool. And then Namsak Noi is just such an incredible style to me. He's like a big Karahat in that he's like so slick, so femur, like cutting these angles, all of this stuff, but Karahat's very melty. Like, he's like a ghost or air that you're like trying to grab and you can't because he just like vanishes and you just can't get him. Namsak Noi has this like substantialness to him because he's just bigger. So he doesn't have this like kind of woof woof disappear into air the way that Karahat does. Instead, he has this like slipperiness where he just disappears outside doors and attacks you from over there, which I really love. Like, I laugh so hard when I train with him. This was our third session with him in the Muay Thai library. We haven't filmed with him for like maybe 6 or 7 years was the last time I filmed with him. And the first time he threw me and I started cackling, he was like, "You still laugh the same?" I was like, "Of course I do." It's still hilarious and a joy to be like learning how you just get totally thrown by someone who is not putting any effort into it. It's amazing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, these sessions. And then I was talking to this guy he's a fan of the Muay Thai library. He was at Samart's gym. He's wearing a Carhartt shirt. So he watched me film my session with Muay Thai and then came up and chatted with me and Kevin afterwards. And Muay Thai has this very like flipping style. To me, it's very old school, even though he's not from the 70s. He's from the same era as Carhartt, but his style is older. Like, his style is kind of more like Put Pad Noi. Hippie is also from Carhartt's era, but Hippie also has this kind of older style, which is like, I think of it as being like Chaya, where you really are like flipping your body back and forth like this. Like everything, it's like a helicopter blade. It's so cool. You really have to relax. You cannot be tight and do it. It is the most like on my own time. I'm just gonna chop through you like a samurai sword kind of thing. That's very cool. This style that's very like flippy like this. And this guy was asking me like, how is this different from Sagat is the example he gave, who I talk about his core kind of turning, as he said, he's like, is that the same? And I was like, it's not the same. Sagat is actually more like, and the example I used is like those prayer wheels that they have in like Tibet that you like spin, in that the rotation is very close around the core, and it's just kind of this like an engine that's a cylinder that kind of like goes like this. Like this is the rotation of Chai, Sagat, Chamuk Pet, who you honestly cannot even see move. And then again, Lakin, he kept telling me I was moving my shoulders too much. He wants very, very little visible movement so that people can't track what you're about to do. But he generates a lot of power around his core, just like really tight around the core. Whereas these older style, I call it older style, I don't know if it actually is, but like Muay Thai, Hippie, Put Pad Noi, this long kind of like the power is coming from there being distance between the core and the weapon, in that like if you're gonna whip something with like a ball on the end of a rope, like a long rope is going to generate a lot of power when you whip it around with that ball, whereas a short one is going to be like just like a little nothing. So you're generating power in two very, very different ways, but in both of them you are generating the power, but the relaxation is different between the two. The kind of like way your feet carry you when you keep that torque very close to the body versus the way your feet step to go across somebody when you're using the longer range, to me is really interesting because I can finally feel it now. I think one of the differences between working with Namsak Noi 7 years ago, and working with him the other day is, and I thank Chai for really, really, really insisting on me that you have to feel what a technique is. He's like, feel it, feel it. Sagat also says this, although he has his weird sing-songy, like, how feel? Like, once you do something that's correct, he's like, how does that feel? Because he wants you to remember what that technique felt like when you did it right so that you can do it again. Chai was a little bit more direct in explaining to me that the feeling is the most important part of being able to feel your way through a technique so that you can self-correct. And I've been doing that for so long now that in working with Namsak Noi this time, instead of just like, now I'm on the floor and I have no idea how I got here, I actually feel points of where he's applying pressure when he's knocking me over. Like I felt him just grip my elbow and kind of help me along on this opposite side that I guarantee I had no idea what he was doing 7 years ago. And then this time, even being thrown, I'm like, like in the air as I'm falling, I'm like, he was pushing on my elbow there. Which is really cool because I'm just picking up way more information on these sessions with people who I've trained with before. So Lakin and Namsak Noi are repeats, and I haven't trained with them in so long, but now with my experience and with doing the library for so long and just all of these things and working on things that they taught me all that time ago, I can perceive and feel and understand and then pull out more from what they're showing me, which is very cool. I feel like I just, like, Keanu Reeves, like, I know Kung Fu, like, super download from working with them. I don't know if you can see this sweet baby who's, like, up on this rock. Right there. And then 2 new sessions with Sea King, Don King, who I've known before. I've met him at Dejrat before, and he has this very cool thing where I'm talking about these, like, different recipes of his kick comes from Sorplungit, where he started when he was a kid. So he said Ajahn Gimyu taught him this kick, and so he has the same kick as Gansak, because that was Gansak's teacher as well. But then he added Ajahn Surat from Dejrat, which is where he went when he was older. He added Surat's guard. So he has this Plungit kick and Surat guard, Dejrat guard. And so it's like you took the pie crust that your aunt uses and the pie filling that your mother-in-law uses, and just make this like super pie is basically how I see what Don King did with his style, which is very cool. He's insanely fast. I think he's like 50 years old this year, and he is just crazy fast. So I'm excited. I'll be voicing these sessions, and then we'll be putting them up, as we can. It's as tiring as it is to drive out and film them and like get them. It's such hard work for me. I know you guys might not believe this because I'm just blah-blahing now for like 16 minutes, but talking for an hour to voice these over is amazing. I love it. I get really into it, and there's this like concentration that I get when I'm like into the voiceover, but it's really tiring. Like when I'm done, I need to kind of like shut down and kind of like recover. And then Kevin has to take it and turn it absolutely beautiful. The stuff he does with his editing and applying the right filters or like color corrections and all these things in order to make these sessions really beautiful, which is not only important for the viewer because we want it to look nice, we want it to be memorable in this, but this is for posterity. Like we actually are building a library. That's the point of the Muay Thai library, is actually preserving the legacy. And so giving attention and giving the right respect to each one of these sessions so that this can carry on, that, I don't know, 40 years from now when I'm not here anymore and people are watching these sessions and learning from these guys who also won't be around anymore. I want that to be like the most beautiful video. I want the voiceover to really bring out as much as possible of what I learned from those. And again, the better I get, the more I learn, the more experience I have, the more context I have, the more reference librarian stuff I have, where I can be like, oh, this other fighter is also like that, or you can see this lineage of Surat, whereas you can see this other lineage of Gimyu, blah blah blah. Like, these things to me as an archivist are really important. So I'm glad that it's exhausting, because that means I'm giving the correct attention to it. But it is a lot of work coming in, doing it, all of these things. And I'm really grateful for everyone who watches the Muay Thai library, because you're giving it the respect and the value that honestly I think that it deserves. And also by being a patron, watching the Muay Thai library, you make it possible. That's, how we can do these documentary projects, is by people being patrons and supporting that way. And of course it supports the legends and the crews. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about all of that. And we're filming again in a couple of days here in Pattaya, because Gong Torni, who's the older brother of Samart, we filmed with him in the Muay Thai library again many years ago. And he comes to Pattaya every Sunday. He has a gym in Pattaya, and he lives here, which I think people forget that like Sidiotong is Pattaya. So Gong Torni and Samart like kind of grew up in Pattaya, which to me is very crazy because I don't think of them as being around here, but they totally are. Hi, baby. I know this dog's got a little black tongue. Why are you all the way over here? Hi.